wasn't Tom Brady are going to be better than Tom Brady. But let's just calm down a little bit. He is haunted by it right now. Yes, I'm sure that's been motivation all throughout his offseason. And for the rest of the Chiefs organization to get back there. And yes, we expect them to get back there this year, if not next year, and continue to be contenders every single year because Patrick Mahomes is that great and that roster is amazing and Andy Reid is incredible. But let's just calm down. It's very hard to get to the Super Bowl. It's very, very difficult to win a Super Bowl. We are blinded by this Tom Brady magic and have these expectations that if you're a great team, you're just supposed to be in the Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl every single year. Aaron Rodgers is a pretty amazing, outstanding, all-time, incredible, legendary quarterback, right? They have a pretty decent roster, some great offensive pieces, right? Have they been in the Super Bowl the last few years? No, they haven't. So they were there. They're in the NFC Championship game, but it's still really hard to get there, even if you're an incredible future Hall of Fame quarterback and have the accomplishments that Patrick Mahomes has already had in his very short career. No, it is not Super Bowl or bust for the Kansas City Chiefs. So just calm down a little bit.
It is 100% Super Bowl or bust in Kansas City. 100% in extra credit. Make it 105, 110%. Make it 115. Make it whatever percentage you want to make it. It's 100%. And this is why. A guy that comes out of the gate as quickly as Patrick Mahomes has come out of the gate, winning a Super Bowl, winning a league MVP, winning a Super Bowl MVP, going back to a Super Bowl, he has accomplished at such a high clip so early in his career. This team still assembled fairly pretty much the way that it was for their Super Bowl runs. You have the same coaching staff in play. You usually lose a lot of coaches when you're winning and playing the way that the Kansas City Chiefs are playing. This isn't just a win or bust, the Super Bowl for Pat Mahomes. It's a win or bust for the Kansas City Chiefs. They have a window of opportunity. How long is that window open for? I don't know. Was the code cracked on the Kansas City Chiefs? We saw this Chiefs team take a serious L, not just lose the game to Tampa in the Super Bowl. They looked like they were figured out for a moment in time. Is that the new blueprint of how you deal with Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs? I do not know. It could have come down to superior personnel on the Tampa Bay side of the ball, but make no mistake about it, that undressing took place on the largest stage in the National Football League in sports, which was the Super Bowl. So to me, right now, going into this next season, we don't know how much longer they have until the Kansas City Chiefs cool off, so to speak. It's got to be Super Bowl or bust as it applies to me, because that's the standard that they've created in Kansas City.
LeVar, dial it down a little bit. All right, Joy is absolutely right. That is ridiculous. Patrick Mahomes will be 26 in, I don't know, a month or so. I mean, come on. This man is too young for it to be Super Bowl or bust. In the 100-year history of the NFL, okay, only 4 teams, 4, have ever gotten to 3 straight championship games. And only 3 have ever gotten to 3 straight Super Bowls. That is what Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs are attempting to do. Not won 3 straight, gotten to 3 straight. Think of all the great dynasties we've had in league history. The 70s Pittsburgh Steelers never got to 3 straight Super Bowls. The 80s San Francisco 49ers never got to 3 straight Super Bowls. The 90s Dallas Cowboys never to 3 straight Super Bowls. And Joy mentioned Tom Brady. Yes, he's changed everything. However, in the middle of his career, with Randy Moss for a few seasons, he went 9 straight years without winning a Super Bowl. All right, so slow down. Pat Mahomes has plenty of time. Now, I like the mentality. I like that Mahomes and Andy Reid and the other players, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, are likely going into this season thinking Super Bowl or bust. They should. But no, if they don't win it, this thing is far from over. The window is as long as Pat Mahomes is under contract. I'll tell you that. Now, I will say this quickly. It would be nice when I think he's got GOAT potential. Obviously, he can't be the GOAT right now. It's way too early. That's Tom Brady. but I do think he has GOAT potential. And if he wins more Super Bowls going forward and we start having the discussion, part of it will be, well, in 2018 or 2019, he lost to Tom Brady in the AFC title game. And then in 2020, he lost to Tom Brady, who was 43 years old, in the Super Bowl. So I do think he needs to start beating Tom Brady. And that's probably my pick for the Super Bowl is Tampa Bay and Kansas City in a rematch. But he needs to start beating Tom Brady. But if he doesn't win this year's Super Bowl, it is not the end of the world.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world. I do think that those two losses that you just brought up are going to be tough when making the GOAT arguments, because if you're comparing, Tom Brady, Michael Jordan, Patrick Mahomes, LeBron James, there wasn't the crossover in championship games to compare, and that is what's happened to Patrick Mahomes. And look, if we get into the GOAT discussion, a lot of that becomes preference as well, because it's very hard to compare careers and eras and all of that stuff. But as far as the pressure that's on Patrick Mahomes, it's only the pressure that's on any great contender to go to the Super Bowl. What's happened to Patrick Mahomes. And look, if we get into the GOAT discussion, a lot of that becomes preference as well, because it's very hard to compare careers and eras and all of that stuff. But as far as the pressure that's on Patrick Mahomes, it's only the pressure that's on any great contender to go to the Super Bowl and win. The same amount of pressure is on Aaron Rodgers. The same amount of pressure is on Josh Allen. The same amount of pressure is on Tom Brady again this year. Russell Wilson, if you're great and you're a contending team, you should be in the Super Bowl conversation. Your expectations and demands of your team and of yourself should be to get to a Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl. That's what you're playing for. But if you don't, it doesn't mean that the window is closed and it's over. It's the Kansas City Chiefs. They're great. They have an amazing roster. We've already listed all the things that are working in their favor. And LeVar, to your point, the blueprints for beating the Kansas City Chiefs is having the Tampa Bay defense and having the Kansas City offensive line fall apart before the Super Bowl. It's not an excuse, it's a reason. Yes, Tom Brady was good, but that Tampa Bay defense does not get enough credit for what happened in that Super Bowl. They were really the ones responsible for what happens in that game. If we're keeping it 100, which I have to do, because that's how I live.
I don't know. The Raiders did it to him as well. I don't buy y'all's logic. And here's the thing. It doesn't necessarily mean that the window is closing. That is correct. I will not dispute that. But when you're ranked the number one team coming into the season, when all the power rankings say that based upon what you have on your roster and your team, you're the favorite to win the Super Bowl. When your team has played in the Super Bowl 2 years prior, y'all gonna tell me that's not a bust if they don't make it to the Super Bowl? I'm not sitting there saying that it's over forever if they don't get to the Super Bowl, but let's be clear here. If you won a Super Bowl and played in one over the last 2 seasons and you're going into the 3rd season and your roster still says that it's the same group of guys that can go to this Super Bowl or is going to be on your roster, what is your expectation? All those teams that you named, Broussard, nobody said this when Jordan or Tom Brady didn't. Yeah, but it was still Super Bowl or bust. The season is a bust if you are a Super Bowl caliber team that does not go to the Super Bowl. So y'all's logic is flawed. Nobody's saying he's a bust. Nobody's saying that the Chiefs are a bust as a whole and everything is falling off the rails. Y'all going like doom or gloom on this. I'm saying if they do not win the Super Bowl or play in the Super Bowl at the least this season, this season was a bust. Now, I would be hard-pressed to hear one of you two come with the crushing grip of logic that would say otherwise.
Well, first of all, we already did that. All right, now you just tried you tried and failed to rebut our arguments. We said that we agree with that logic that you just threw out. Yes, in their locker room, they need to be thinking Super Bowl or bust. And I'm sure they are, and they will be disappointed if they don't win the Super Bowl. But the question is, is it bust? They'll be back right again next year and still probably the favorites in a lot of people's eyes to win the Super Bowl again. They'll still have that stacked roster. They'll still have that all-time great quarterback and coach, and they will still have a chance to win the Super Bowl. So that is not a bust. And let me throw this at you, LeVar. You talked about maybe they've been soft.